Okay, bass guitar. Just give you a little listen to the bass. I'll turn this mix tool off because I'm going to be using that just to bring the level up as and when I feel it's too quiet. But right now, turn it off. So that gives you some idea of the breadth of bass tones going on for this particular song. So if I open up, well, first off, we've got clean bass, bass clank, and bass dirty. Each one of them is doing a different job, and I'm just going to kind of go through each one and sort of explain what's going on. They're all bussed to their own buses here. So I've got a bus for clean, clank, dirty, a few others for sort of special effects. And they all go to this bass bus. So if I mute or solo the bass bus, pretty much all of the bass will get soloed or muted, depending on what I want in the project. So right now we've got clean bass, and we've got 4 microphones. We've got the 421, we've got the 57, 52A, and the D6. If I just go through one by one so that you can hear what's going on. Jump in a little bit. This is where we need that mix tool. '57. '52A. And the D6. Now individually they all kind of sound a bit meh, but they're all doing different things. Like the D6 is handling the uber lows, the 52A and the 421 are kind of serving the mids and the low mids, and the 57 is doing kind of all the highs. And obviously they're all being bussed to this bass clean bus, which then has a final sort of taste of EQ on it. But essentially what you're hearing is each microphone's kind of characteristics and where they were positioned on the cab. Like the 57 was right in front of the tweeter, so that sort of high-end sort of pickiness is all coming from the positioning on the cab. And if you're going to mic up your cab using 2, 3, 4 microphones, could get you the tones that you're after. So when you hear them all together, there's a pretty nice balance there. And that's just the cleans. I'm doing a similar thing for the clank. So this particular riff, if I was to solo the clank, that's this bus here. I'm killing all of the lows and I'm subduing the highs pretty harshly. If I get rid of that, it starts to sound more bass-like. But the only purpose that this clank track is serving is really just to give me some distortion from the bass to cut through the mix, so that when everything is going on, I can turn up this fader or turn down this fader more or less to increase the clarity on the bass. And I'm limiting it with the Waves L1 limiter. Again, pretty harshly. Because I don't want that to poke through too much. I want control over it. So you've got your clean bass, which is just clean bass guitar coming through the amp and cab. You've got bass clank, which is the dark glass B3K pedal going through the amp and cab, but then filtered pretty harshly so that you only hear some of the high frequencies. And then you've got bass dirty, which is kind of where most of the meat lives. Same set of microphones, so effectively for every riff I've got what we got? We got 12. I've got 12 microphones. So that on its own sounds pretty good. You can add the clank to it. And those high notes start to cut through a bit more. Add the clean bass, and the low end gets a little bit more solid. So I'm very much dealing with the bass on a kind of multi-band basis. The clean is kind of giving me my solidity, the clank is giving me my clarity, and the bass dirty is sort of gluing everything together with the distortion and kind of adding that bit of fuzz that we wanted. And from there, when we were recording, recording all the bass tracks, we would turn the drive and the level on the B3K up and down as we felt was necessary. So, like for this riff, for instance, compared to this is a lot more distorted. And if you listen to the song, that moment really is the high point, or the heavy point in this song. Even though this bit here is pretty big, but we didn't want that to be the focal point. It's almost like you've got what almost 2.5 minute introduction, and then this is a really long verse. Effectively, the chorus doesn't actually kick in properly until almost 6 minutes. So that was the point where everything needed to kind of beef up. With the bass, that's when you add a bit more level, a bit more distortion to kind of give it a rise. And then during the outro, it comes down, and everything's pretty much clean at this point. But still, if you take anything away, it kind of, the whole character of the bass changes, really. So that's how I'm dealing with the bass. In terms of processing, I've shown you the kind of clank. The dirty is just EQ'd. I don't think there is anything going on on the main tracks. Like, I've got some special effects going on at the start, but in the main, what you get from the amp is what you're hearing on the record. Let's just go back and make sure that we're just hearing dirty. So that's your dirty EQ. Made a little room for the kick drum here. You can see scooped off the uber lows around 55, 48 decibel. You know, if you go over to 12, you can kind of hear some of that low end come back in. But I wanted room for the kick. A lot of this is in the performance, because our bassist plays with a pick. He gets a lot of clarity to his playing. So I didn't really feel that I needed to do that much. It's just all about mixing these different bands. Every now and then, I'm automating a chorus, like it's about to come in here. I believe that is on the bass bus. It's just the bog standard chorus that comes with PreSonus Studio One. Just get rid of it. In terms of processing on the main bass bus, apart from that chorus, some more EQ. Once you add bands together, you'll often find that frequencies will sort of clash, or you'll have strange resonances that weren't there in the individual bands, but when you combine them, you kind of get a bump, or a weird combination. So that's just there to kind of filter some of that stuff out. Some compression. I don't think that it's not really doing that much. Kind of when he hits a note really hard, you'll probably see a little bit, like a decibel. Again, a bit more EQ, because once you compress, things get brighter. So I'm just managing that a little bit. Some limiting just to make sure I don't go over where it looks like about 6 dB. And then a mix bus, which looks like it's being absolutely caned. But I don't know, I like the sound of it. I didn't really question it too much. And then that mix tool I've just added for the purposes of doing this video. It's not doing anything in the actual mix. So let's talk about the bass during the introduction, because this is a funny one. So I've split that off completely to its own separate thing. Makes you sleep. So if I remember rightly, there's no dark glass on this. This is just the clean amp. Still with the 4 microphones. I'm EQing slightly on some of the microphones for this. If we come over here, most of the stuff is happening on these 2 tracks. Bass effects, bass echo. Let me just where is it? They've moved a bunch of options in this latest version, and I do not like it. Console solo follows selection. Let's get rid of that, because I don't want that. So I'm a big fan of this Echo Boy plugin. It's probably the best delay that you can get in terms of, you know, the world of VSTs and whatnot. It's just brilliant. You've got tons of models, options, and you can even go in and tweak them, you know, if you so choose, by using the style edit stuff. So I'm using the Memory Man model on this bass echo, and I'm just creating a wash. Pretty high feedback, the mix is all the way up, a little bit of low and high cut, bit of saturation here, but I just wanted a wash of noise texture, and then I'm dialing that into taste. So without it, it's pretty plain without it. Bring that in, starts to kind of beef up a bit. You can hear that I've got a bit of reverb. It's the plate reverb from T-Rax. And then if we come over here, we've got yet another effects channel. That's just more of the same, really. Echo Boy, Valhalla Room, the beat delay in Presonus Studio One, some EQ. Essentially what I'm doing with that is I'm filtering all of the lows and I'm just creating more textures. It's all about how I've mixed the different amounts of texture. It's like it's controlled chaos in a sense. And it all buses down to this channel. Very similar processing to what's on the main bass bus. Mix bus, limiter, EQ, compression, more EQ. Essentially, I'm turning the bass into more of a synthetic thing for the introduction, because really it's the guitars and the vocals that carry this entire introduction. Everything else serves that. But if you take it away, you do miss it. You know, now it sounds kind of empty. That's a tremolo part that our bassist wrote. Just gives it a little extra melody. And it's really about creating this wonderful tail, because in this gap, it's just guitar and tails from the previous section, like the reverbs and the delays. Atmospherics. It's kind of the order of the day. Let's jump back to the main bass tracks. Just talk about the end of the song. I love that little bit of fuzz. He's playing at the 12th fret on either his low C or his high C. I can't quite tell, but I love the little bit of fuzz that you're getting there. And then it just drops straight into the clean section. really with the bass guitar, it was all about deciding on the day how much distortion to use, how loud to make the dirty in comparison to the clean. And then in the mix, it was mainly ensuring that everything was pretty level, that nothing was jumping out of the mix in an uncontrolled manner. Again, got that chorus coming in for the end section. It's playing a sort of arpeggio, I suppose. You can really hear, if I go back, there's a lot of synchronicity between the kick drum and the bass guitar in our music, and I tend to emphasize the kick drum more than the bass. So when I'm EQing with that in mind. I'm scooping some room, taking some room out of the bass guitar so that the kick can come through. But I'm also taking a little bit out of the kick drum so that the bass guitar can come through. You just got to manage your frequencies, and then that's how you get a really tight but clear sound. If I get rid of some of the processing, make it a bit more fair, I'll bring a mix tool back so that we don't lose level on the bass. That's just sounding like muddy, horrible mess. Go over to the kick drum, get rid of the processing. Now the bass guitar is absolutely dominating, and the kick just sounds kind of weedy and anemic. So it's really, you've got to kind of go in and you've got to decide based on your material and what you want to hear. You've got to decide which is going to be the more dominant in whichever frequency range, because the bass is more dominant in the mids than the kick drum, and the kick drum is more dominant in the lows than the bass. And it's about kind of splitting up your frequency range. There's only so far. There's only so much frequency room that you've got. So you need to manage that. And that's the main thing. That's the main thing about bass guitar, in my opinion. Then you get someone that can actually play their instrument and magic things can happen. So if there's anything with the bass that I've missed that you would like to see or you'd like to have me expand on, add a comment, ask me, on Facebook, send the band an email, and I'll respond. But that's what you got. There's not much else to it, really. To be honest, with this particular track, there's not even that much in the way of automation on the bass. Certainly, there's no automation tracks. The only one for the bass is that chorus. That's what it looks like to me, anyway. Cool. So we'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll discuss probably guitars and after that, it'll be vocals, and then I'll probably do a sort of outro video where I talk about sort of master dynamics. Like this track here, for instance, is doing quite a lot in this song. And then yeah, I'll talk about the master channel processing and what I'm looking for in terms of levels and panning and that kind of thing, and my general philosophy. So yep, next video, see you in a bit.